Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, stopping by. Welcome to the show. And stuck home. I hate that feeling. I ordered my, I guess I did order my new phone, iPhone a couple weeks ago. Of course, you can't, go to the store, you can't get them, so they have to order everything. And so yesterday I got the email that it was arriving today. So of course I happen to be home today, which is good, but I have a ton of errands to do. So I need to get to the store, need to do a few other things. I wanted to go get some jeans. I wanted to go, and you can't leave. Now I'm trapped at home because you have to sign for the phone, otherwise they won't leave it. And I know if I run out to the store for a second, the UPS is going to pull up, and then I have to go chase it down. So I'm like stuck at home because they make me sign for the phone. So here we are. So we're recording today, and figured I'd use this time to record my episode for the week. So if there's a weird pause in the middle of this episode, it means that UPS is like pulling up, but I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, thanks for stopping by. My name is Michael. I'm a woman's photographer from New Jersey and have photographed hundreds and hundreds of women over my 15 plus year career as a woman's photographer. And we do a little show to answer questions because you may think boudoir photography is so straightforward and simple, and it's not. We've learned in recording 30 something or more episodes into this show now that you got to do a lot of work when shopping for a women's photographer. Don't ever assume that it's simple and straightforward, that just by merely going online, doing a quick search, and you'll see 10 photographers, they're all going to be the same, pick one, it doesn't really matter. Learn anything, but that's the truth. So it involves a lot of work, but we want everyone to have a great experience, get great results, and so we're here to answer questions and talk about finding a boudoir photographer so you have a great experience and walk away with photos that you'll enjoy for years to come. So one little question that we're going to chat about today, and it's a little bit of a hot topic in photographers, but I just want to give you a little bit of both sides of this, and then you can decide for yourself. I definitely have an opinion on this. And our question for today is, why do boudoir photographers promote healing in their sessions? And you don't really have to search too far and wide if you're looking for a women's photographer before you start seeing healing and trauma and fixing, and we're going to make you whole, and you're going to start seeing all of this kind of stuff, and you're like, wait, I just really wanted an anniversary gift. What the heck is all this stuff about fixing? So we're going to chat about that a little bit today, and again, I'm going to give you some information on this, and then you can turn it around and do what sort of works best for you. And like I said, I've been doing this for a really long time. I think I've seen my fair share of women come passing through my building. And let me tell you something. By and large, the inspiration for women going out and doing a boudoir photography session is typically a gift. In my case, I do a lot of brides, and they're getting married, and they're looking to create a special gift for their wedding. Often it may be an anniversary, or this time of year, what we're getting ready for is Christmas. So those are probably some of the bigger reasons that women come in and do boudoir photo shoots, sort of overwhelmingly. Now, there are people who sometimes want to do it for themselves, or, there are other reasons that women want to come in and do a boudoir photo shoot. But by and large, it's to have a good time, cute gift idea, and that's what they're looking to do. And it's not really the case that someone is like suffering mental health issues and the first thing they do is I'm going to go to see a photographer. Like, that's probably not what popped into your head if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling, you know what I mean? But yet there's this very, very strange link that a lot of photographers, especially over the past 10 years or so, and you'll see more and more of this talk of healing around boudoir photographers. You may be wondering, what the heck is that? Now, do all women's photographers do this? No. It has become this narrative in boudoir photography and has been metastasized kind of into boudoir photography, where especially a lot of people who are just starting their business, they look to the left, they look to the right, they see all these photographers talking about this, and they feel they need to do this too. That somehow not only are they taking your picture, but they're solving your mental health issues during the process. And I get it. They want to help. But, boudoir photographers, in many cases, have trouble even taking quality work. They're certainly not trained mental health professionals. And I don't think they should be advertising their business as a cure or a healing for somebody struggling with mental health issues. And often, as I've heard in my history, I've worked with women who have spoken to other photographers, and they get on the phone with them, and invariably the conversation winds down the path of, oh, this woman just started talking how she was going to fix me, and I think by and large, most women have no interest in this kind of language or what they want to come into a boudoir session. But there's tons and tons and tons of photographers out there feeling that this is their role. So we're going to talk a little bit about this today. And why this happens, I don't really know. I think part of it is because, boudoir photography is fun, and that's the whole thing. It's a fun gift. Women come in, they have a great time. It's silly. They're rolling around in their underwear. They're, walking away and they're feeling good about themselves. Photos make them feel good about themselves. And that's a great part about what I do, and having people come in and they see themselves in their best light, and they walk away thinking, wow, that was fun. I want to do that again sometime. The pictures are cute. Everything turned out better than I thought. And hey, that's what boudoir photography is all about. And I think what happens is this aspect of women, feeling great during their session. People kind of grabbed onto this idea and just started to go way, way, way too far with it, and promising that they were going to be fixing all kinds of conditions in your session. Sorry about that. And, one person ramps it up, the next person ramps it up, and it gets ramped up and ramped up and ramped up. And before you know it, these photographers are advertising themselves as essentially psychologists that are repairing women. Now, I guess, it's one of those things again where boudoir photography is fun, and they're just taking this process, and I don't know if misrepresenting it is the right word, or they themselves, I think more often than not, are putting themselves in this role of some kind of a mental health professional, which really they shouldn't be doing. And I think ultimately what always sort of passes through my mind, is that this really can create a risky situation, maybe where there is somebody with deeper emotional or maybe like psychological challenges that may be turning to a photographer who is completely unqualified to give them guidance or information. People see this, and, so I would never put myself in that role of offering any kind of medical advice or psychological advice to people, but you see this kind of all over the place. We're healing trauma. We're doing this. We're making you whole. And, this is where this gets tricky, because I see photographers out there from time to time who, there are some women out there who maybe don't feel great about themselves. They wake up and, life's tough, and they're not doing so well, or, they can go into a photographer who will really have a positive experience with them, And, they can leave later that day and thinking, yeah, this was a great day, and I'm feeling a bit better about myself. And I get that. And I understand that. But I think there's a really, really fine line where having a good time or making someone feel good about themselves is a very different thing than someone struggling with some kind of mental health issues who needs to talk to a skilled professional, and the way that photographers approach this, I think they're really crossing that line in some instances and making themselves appear to be mental health professionals, and they're completely unqualified to do so. And then often I think what you have to be careful of is a lot of newer photographers too. They go heavy on this narrative because they see it everywhere else, and they focus on all these therapeutic claims and I'm changing women's lives. And, their photography is really pretty poor. And then they lean heavily on this narrative. So I think when you are out there shopping and, like I said, most women think an anniversary gift and wedding is coming up, and I really want to go get a cute boudoir session. You're browsing photographers in your area and you see, websites that have a lot of content on there with this fixing, healing, making you whole. And you're really not into having some kind of a semi-amateur photographer talking to you about fixing yourself. If you don't want to go through that for an hour and a half, that may not be your best choice. If you're looking for a cute Christmas gift and just for your husband or your boyfriend, you may not want to, spend too much time chatting with a photographer whose whole website talks about trauma. And I see this now all over the place. Trauma, we're fixing trauma. I think if someone has trauma, they're probably not turning to a photographer. They probably really need to go see a licensed professional counselor or therapist. So it's very strange that people do that. So I think as someone searching for a photographer, really start out with your intent and having an idea of what you want to do. And is it more, it's a gift. I've always wanted to do this, or maybe you're doing it for yourself. And then, read, chat with your photographer and go the direction of, the person that really is going to be more gift and fun centered. And that way you don't have to go through maybe a bunch of emotional baggage during a session that you weren't planning on getting. Because remember, boudoir photography is first and foremost about creating high quality photos and an experience that women are going to enjoy. So if that's your priority, choose somebody who seems to be more focusing on that direction and less on the fixing on their website. On the other hand, if someone has a lot of information on their website, talking about how they're one-on-one and they're working with somebody and they really will sit down with you and make you feel great. And maybe if you're feeling down a little bit and you need a little bit of that, someone who advertises that me a bit more, and you're okay with the photographer playing a little bit of mental health counselor for you, then, someone who does that maybe your preference and what you want to do. Or maybe you have a friend who went to someone who works with someone kind of like that in a therapeutic manner, and they walked out of it and they're like, it was okay. I like someone telling me that I can feel good about myself and stuff like that, and that's okay too. And I think though, on the client side, on your side, as someone shopping for a photographer, this is just one of these maybe unexpected things you did not need to know you needed to make a decision of way up front, whether you want your boudoir with therapy or without mental health counseling as part of your session, and choose that direction way sort of early on. And there's a difference between empowerment and then therapy too. And as I noted before, it's true that women come in, they do their session, and they feel empowered, a confidence boost after doing their session, and walk out the door and they're feeling good about themselves for a few days. And positive self-perception can be a powerful outcome, and seeing yourself in a new light. And that's a fun thing about going into a boudoir session as well. And you have to remember, though, that this experience is not a substitute for professional therapy, especially if you are someone dealing with a significant trauma or some kind of an issue. I don't think that if you're really down in the dumps and having a problem and you're really seeking help, you would go to a woman who started boudoir photography 3.5 weeks ago. I don't think that's the answer for you. But that's just me. But yet you'll see this all advertised out there. So, boudoir sessions can be a part of a broader journey of self-appreciation and celebration. I get it. And it's kind of tricky in a sense. And as I always say, if you are feeling deeply troubled or you feel like you're facing trauma, it's important to seek support of a licensed mental health professional. I would not turn to a photographer who's been in business 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago and relying on somebody with no mental health training to sort of help you. However, on the other hand, a great boudoir session can make you feel beautiful and confident, but it's not a replacement for professional mental health care. And that's really sort of the bottom line there. And why photographers do this, I have no idea. I really don't have a great explanation on how this got started, but they've just pushed it and pushed it and pushed it and pushed it in some of these cases. And, if you bring this up to them, they're staunch and they'll get angry to the point of insisting that, they're there as a therapist and they're there to change people's lives. And, for better or worse, sometimes these people lack a bit of self-awareness about what they're doing, so that's why it's important to understand, this is again why boudoir photography gets way, way overly complicated, and it's not as easy as you think. And as I noted, I've had a few women over the years who I've been working with, and I think I've talked about this before, and they may not have brought it up immediately, but in the middle of the session, they would say, "Oh, by the way, I really was contacting some other some other photographers before you," and they would tell me how they got on the phone, and all they really wanted was an anniversary gift, and then the photographer went into their whole spiel about fixing and healing, and the client was like, I don't want that. And I know people who've gone to these sessions and had to put up with that for, an hour and a half or 2 hours. And it's just leaves a bad taste in their mouth because that's not really what they were going into a session for. So, to recap, as always, finding a woman's photographer is not the simplest thing in the world. And it takes a bit of work. And among all of the other things that you have to do in researching someone's experience and finding out about their privacy policy and on and on and on and on, you, as someone going to go in for your wedding gift or anniversary gift, really have to make the decision if you want your boudoir photography to come with unlicensed mental health advice or not as well. And if the answer is yes, this is very evident by the content you'll see on photographers' websites. They will talk about this endlessly, and you can choose that route. But for those who really are not interested in someone with a camera giving them life advice, you again want to be vigilant to the content on someone's website. And if it talks a lot about these fixing and healing kind of vibes in there, it may not be the best photographer for you if you don't want to go through that whole experience and that's not your cup of tea. So as always, you can see it can take a bit of work to wind up with the best photographer for you. And as we always talk about, always have a consultation and ask the questions that we always talk about with these photographers. And don't assume that someone who, refers to themselves a pro has any experience or knows what they're doing, or, for all you know, they could have been in business now for like 3 weeks and that's about it. And they have zero camera skills, and then they're talking about changing their life. So you have to ask some questions, decide if you want healing as part of your boudoir experience or not, and choose your photographer sort of appropriately. So that's, I'll leave it there. And then you can decide what works best for you and what you were looking for in your boudoir session. But as we always talk about, all boudoir photographers are not equal by any means. And what we discussed a little bit today about this is some offer mental health, some force mental health on you, and then there's some that, are not in that category. They're just about fun and having a good experience. And if you want a simple anniversary gift, you probably don't want to go down the route of someone who's 75% of the content on their website is talking about broken women. It's probably not going to be the fun experience that you initially thought it would be. So there we go. The ever-evolving and complicated world of women's photography, and you thought it was going to be so easy. So that's why we're doing a show, and that's this week's episode. So again, I want to thank everybody for stopping by and listening, and I'm going to sit here very, very bored, I guess, for the rest of the afternoon, waiting for Mr. UPS truck. I want to go get some dinner, so hopefully he comes sooner than later, and that's it. That's all I got for you. So I'm going to get out of here, and I will talk to everybody next week. So thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.